think's going to happen now? 2012? Do you think we'll finally get some closure,
In
or
2020,
I'm
I don't
sorry,
know,
2020?
because again, we've got this fifth column within the government, and then these non-government organizations that, for whatever reason, are allowed to go down there and quote unquote monitor the proceedings, to see if they're legit or not. Who the hell are you to tell the United States government how to deal with war criminals? I'll believe it when I see it. I think Khalid Sheikh Mohammed stands a better chance of dying of old age than being executed by the government.
Well, how long are we going to drag this out?
Well,
2020, it'll be, that's a
yeah. Hey,
long time.
my first visit there was a pretrial hearing. It was a competency hearing for Ramzi bin al-Shibh to see if he was sane enough to stand trial. And we spent thousands on psychologists and psychiatrists evaluating this guy. That dragged on for months and months. So he's deemed fit to stand trial, and now there'll be another motion. I mean, when they have motions about pillows and van rides. I mean, this is what we're down to. This is lawfare. They're waging war against the people of the United States in a courtroom, and for the most part, people don't know about it.
Right. So
people just aren't up on Guantanamo Bay. They figure, like I was.
Well, you
Veronica,
forget
for the first
about
few
it.
years, I figured, yeah. Well, not only that, you figure you trust your government. They got these guys in jail. They're taking care of it, right? Well, guess what? They're not. They're getting beat up after by well-financed, well-organized left-wing organizations that pass themselves off as human rights organizations like Human Rights First, Amnesty International, the ACLU, Peaceful Tomorrows. There's a whole laundry list of do-gooders down there that are trying to throw a monkey wrench in the works.
Incredible.
It really is. It's maddening.
So is there anything that a normal person that's not a 9/11 family can do? I mean, we're just, bystanders on the sidelines.
A lot of us do. We're normal Americans are busy with their lives. You're raising a family, you're working, you're doing what you have to do, paying your taxes, serving in the military, supporting your country. This is what regular Americans do. People who are not regular Americans, maybe people with money or backing or whatever, have time to focus on this. And people like you and me really don't. I do, only because I make the time, but my recommendation would be call your congressman, write him a letter. Hey, what's going on down there? Put pressure on them. I mean, they almost brought them into federal court in New York years ago. I mean, there was a whole motion by Eric Holder to close down Guantanamo Bay, try them in federal court as if they were bank robbers, if they were
incredible.
And once they set foot on U.S. soil, they are endowed with the rights of U.S. citizenship. And I know to a lot of people on the left,
no way,
being a U.S. citizen is not that big a deal,
right?
And it means less and less to be American. But once they're here and they're in federal court, it's just going to degenerate into a torture festival for the press, and these guys are going to get, and a lot of the evidence isn't going to be admissible because it was gotten under extreme circumstances. So what does that mean? It means we have to Mirandize terrorists on the battlefield because they're going to wind up in federal court someday. Hey, we can't admit that was. You can't admit that evidence into court because it was gotten under waterboarding, or it was gotten under extreme circumstances, or this guy didn't
of people
know his
that
rights.
were trying to kill us,
Of
get
people
more
who
rights.
were trying to kill us.
They get more rights than we get. So every year, we just had the 9/11 memorials, and President Trump was at the Pentagon, and Vice President Pence was at Pennsylvania. He was visibly moved and had tears. I mean, every year I have tears when I watch these memorials and hear the speeches, and so I'm moved every year. I mean, I think our country's done a great job in remembering. Is there anything that we're missing? I know, again, we remember on 9/11. Is there anything that we could do for these families at this point? Or, do you feel like they've been taken care of?
I think that, my brother was a casualty of war. And that's what a lot of people are. They're casualties of war. Well, then we have to treat this like a war if they were casualties of war. So just like we have Pearl Harbor Day on December 7th every year, we should have a national holiday, for 9/11.
I do like that.
I think I like that idea. It's our generation's Pearl Harbor.
Right.
So I think we need to mark it as a holiday and a remembrance. I know it's uncomfortable for people on the left because they're one-worlders. They don't believe in nationalism. They don't believe in our country. They have this problem with moral equivalency where they think that everybody around the world is the same. Well, guess what? Cultures are different. Morals are different. And different parts of the world, things that pass for normal would never pass muster here. So we need to make that distinction between us and them.
So
that,
is there a
America,
movement on the 9/11 holiday?
Is there a what?
Is there an actual movement? The families are behind that,
I don't
driving
know that. I don't know that. I think a lot of 9/11 families just want to get on with their lives, and they want justice. And you've got people on the other side that are just trying to make a name for themselves. They want to be part of this trial of the century somehow. These are, hey, let's not forget, these are career-making cases. I mean, you can be the next Johnny Cochran if you can get Khalid Sheikh Mohammed off. I mean, this is the kind of people that we've got defending them down there. So, yeah, we should make it a holiday. Whether or not there's a movement, I don't know, but I would welcome an official federal holiday for 9/11.
I love that, actually. So will you ever write a book on, when it's all said and done, on your experience and what you've witnessed? Because you've had the front row seat to it all.
Yeah, listen, not as front row as a lot of other people have. I mean, as I mentioned before, I've been very busy with my career and my family and all that other stuff. There's a wonderful, wonderful woman by the name of Deborah Burlingame. Her brother was the pilot of Flight 77 that hit the Pentagon. She's a Wall Street Journal contributor. She's a journalist and a lawyer by profession who was knee-deep in this thing for a very long time. She had to stop for a while. She needed a break because it was affecting her health. I mean, it's very frustrating for us to be this involved. I mean, if I lived this stuff, I would break out in a rash. It's too much to deal with for one person. So she was so involved to the point that her health was starting to suffer, and she had to take a break from it. I kind of feel the same way. I jump in and out of it, but it's so emotionally taxing.
Right.
Now, the people on the left, they don't care because they care more about principles than people. They care more about, their political philosophy than real people. On our side, and I say our side, normals, as we call normals, we Americans that go to work every day, we care more about our families and people than we do about some abstract concept of international justice. We just want our justice. We want American justice.
Wow.
And that's the difference between us and them.
So has this...
Yeah. Someday I'll write a book, I suppose, to answer your question.
I would read it. What about your relationship with your siblings? And Adam was married. Are you all much tighter after going through something like this, the bond?
Yeah, yes and no. With my brothers and sisters, and there were 6 of us. Adam was the baby. We did become much closer afterwards, and we were always pretty tight-knit, but this was... Mm-hmm. This was a shock that went through the family, and watching what my parents had gone through was really tough to watch. Adam's wife kind of went on with her life, got remarried.
Okay.
And so we've not as close as we used to be. I mean, she's gotten on with a new life, and we're happy for that.
Yeah, that's happy to hear that people continue.
Yeah, but. For us as a family, I think it's gotten us closer. Incidentally, my mother died 2 years ago, and at age 89.
Wow.
And never saw justice for her murdered son. That was it. They caught the guys, but never got to trial. So she passed away without ever seeing justice for her son. And this is happening a lot now. The average age of the person killed in the World Trade Center was 37 years old. So do the math. How old do their parents have to be now if they're still alive? All of these parents are passing away, and their children have never gotten justice in an American court.
Well, and the terrorism continues. London, yesterday the subway, they tried to blow up a bomb there. It hasn't stopped. So how do you see the world? Because these, it hasn't been 3,000 people, but it's still terrorism happening, every other day around the world.
Khalid Sheikh Mohammed has admitted that he was very surprised by America's response to 9/11 because they were planning a second attack. Mm-hmm. They dropped plans for the second attack because of the really vigorous response of the United States and its military. They were shocked that we came back so hard because, hey, we were just a paper tiger. We weren't going to do anything. and that's what we're back at that position now. Now we're back. We were, for the last 8 years, we've been a paper tiger. We've been loath to commit military action in any large, meaningful way. Now, I'm not a warmonger. I have a son in the military. Last thing I want to see is a war. But we have to put them on notice that we will consistently seek out and destroy, people who seek to harm civilian Americans. I mean, it's that simple. As a military person, this is what we sign up for.
To protect our country.
Now.
Yes.
Protect our country, you put it on the line.
Our citizens,
My brother Adam didn't sign up for this. He signed up to pursue the American dream, make a little money, have a good life. That was his pursuit, and he's got a right to do that without, someone attacking him. So we've got to be very clear, We have to, as Ronald Reagan said, they will get swift and certain retribution. He said that over the Iran hostages when they were released. He says, hey, this ain't happening again on my watch because there will be swift and certain retribution. And I'm talking about revenge. And that's what they understand in that part of the world. The strong horse. They want to ride the strong horse, not the weak horse. So.
Well, as we wrap up the show, is there anything you want to leave the audience on, where you are in life with this and some closing thought or two?
Well, 9/11, please observe it. Also, talk to your legislators. Ask them for an update. Hey, what's going on in Gitmo? We want to know. And I just thank goodness every day that the election turned out the way it did, and we have a President Trump, although not my first pick. Where his heart is, and his heart is squarely with America. And
Very true.
We have to be thankful for that.
Very true. Well, I can't thank you enough, Don. I've always wanted to know your story, and you're a true patriot because you're still, carrying the torch for your brother Adam. I thank all the listeners today, and you can find us and share us. We're on Veronica Live on Facebook, Veronica Live on iTunes. We're on Twitter, and we have a YouTube channel. So please share this story, and let's stand behind Don and get a 9/11 holiday. That would be excellent. Thank you, Don, for joining us.
Thank you, Veronica, and thanks for the opportunity.